Hi, I'm Tom, and in this video I'm going to attempt to use Matter to connect this Shelly One Mini to this Matter bulb. In a previous video I showed how you could use the detached mode in Shelly relays to control smart bulbs, avoiding the common problem of switching it off at the wall, turning the power off to the bulb. Now that worked really well. That video got quite a few views, and I use that system in most of the light bulbs in my house, and it works really well. The problem with it is that there's a single point of failure, in that if Home Assistant or Node Red, which I used to provide the control, is offline or crashes or whatever, then it's impossible to actually use any of the lights in the house. I've worked around that to a degree by building a sort of a watchdog which runs on a Raspberry Pi, and that monitors the health of Home Assistant, and if Home Assistant goes down it tells all the Shelly relays to switch from the detached mode to the standard input mode. I've done a video on that as well, so you can see how I've implemented that. Thankfully, since I've put that in place, it's never actually been triggered. I've never had to use it outside of the standard updates and reboots that I do to my home server. However, when Shelly announced that they were going to be bringing Matter into their very popular Shelly products, I immediately had visions of connecting the Shelly relay to a Matter bulb using Thread. Now, Thread is a peer-to-peer network. It's one of the transport mechanisms that Matter can use as an alternative to Wi-Fi. And the main benefit is it's very low power, but because it's peer-to-peer, there's no single point of failure. So in my mind, I had the idea to bind, in the Matter terminology, connect the Shelly One really directly to the bulb it was controlling. Doing that would remove the points of failure. So if I was using Thread and the Wi-Fi went down, these two devices would still be able to communicate. If Home Assistant went down, they'd still be able to communicate. Unfortunately, to date, Shelly haven't added Thread support to any of their Gen 4 products yet. So we're still relying on Wi-Fi, but I thought in this video what I would try to do is perform that pairing. Yes, I'd still be relying on Wi-Fi, but I wanted to see if it was possible to at least do that. Now, normally I script my videos to some degree, but for this, as I haven't tried any of this yet, I'm just going to make this up as I go along, so please bear with me. So I'm going to try and do this in a couple of steps. So step one will be commissioning or pairing the Shelly relay. Then I will have a look at what options are available within the relay, and I'll see how we can turn it over to detached mode. I don't know if any of this is possible. Then I'll commission the bulb and get that working as well, and then I will attempt to add a binding to connect the relay to the bulb. To do this, I'm going to use something called the chip tool, and that's a command line tool that's provided by the Matter SDK. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's a little bit easier to interrogate devices, and hopefully it will make it more obvious what I'm doing as I work through the process. If you don't know what the chip tool is, I've done a video in the past where I show you how to set it up on a Raspberry Pi, and then I use that Raspberry Pi to commission and control this, in fact, this bulb. So on my desk here in front of me, I've got a Shelly One Mini wired in. So this is just connected via live and neutral, and this runs off to plug. I haven't connected the bulb at this point because we're not going to use that, but this is the Nanoleaf bulb I'm using. This is a Thread bulb. And I use a couple of these. For example, I've got one on my desk light here, and I use one or two of them in the house. I haven't switched everything over to Matter yet because my Wi-Fi LifeX bulbs are fine. So on the Shelly One, we get a Matter code. Now, This also is provided in the box. So they give you two. I don't know why the sticker is so big. It doesn't even fit on the unit. But if you lose these codes, you would be unable to pair these devices anymore. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a note of this. So this is the pairing code. And we're going to use this pairing code with the chip tool to commission this relay. So I've logged into my Raspberry Pi and I already have the chip tool installed. And you can see all the options that we get for that. So what we want to do is start the pairing process. So we can see there's lots of different ways that we can commission a Matter device. Now what we're interested in is code Wi-Fi. So because the Shelly relays are Wi-Fi only, we need to be able to commission them into our existing Wi-Fi network. You'll also notice that there's thread options. There's also Wi-Fi and thread, and then we've got different NFCs. There's loads of different ways that we can do this, but because it's brand new, we're going to be pairing it via its code and using Wi-Fi. So to do that, we put in our chip tool. We say code Wi-Fi. The next thing we need to do is give it a node ID. So I'm just going to say 1. Next, I need to give it my Wi-Fi credentials. So I've created a special network for this, in case you are trying to hack my existing network. And then finally, we need to provide the code. So that's the number again that sits in here. I obviously can't scan it in because I don't have a camera. So I'm just going to type this in. That's 193. And no, doesn't like that. Okay, why does it not like that? What am I missing? Ah, missing the actual pairing command. Sorry. Pairing. So let's run that. And it's not liking that. Okay. All right. Off to a bad start. It looks like it couldn't find the Shelly. So does that mean the Shelly is not powered up?
A few moments later.
So turns out I hadn't actually plugged it in. If we take a look now, you can hopefully see there's a tiny little red light blinking, which means it's powered up. So we'll run our pairing command again. And hopefully, yes. Okay, you can see now it's found the device. And so the pairing has now failed, and that's failed due to something called device attestation. That's a feature in Matter where devices can be certified by the CSA, which is the Connectivity Standards Alliance, to ensure that they're real and they've been verified and certified. We don't care about that. The chip tool, what's actually happening here is the chip tool doesn't have the certificates it needs to be able to verify the attestation details it's gotten. Now, we don't care about attestation, so what we can do is provide this flag, which tells it we want to bypass the attestation verifier. Okay, no, it did not like that. Oh, we say true. Okay, we'll run that again, and hopefully this time pairing will complete. So now it should be, it's connecting to the Wi-Fi. Sigma 3. Okay, so it looks like now we have successfully commissioned node 1. So what we can do now is I can't remember these commands off the top of my head, so I think we can do read and let's try vendor, the vendor name on node 1 endpoint, the root endpoint. So 00 here refers to the root endpoint on the Matter device. And hopefully you can see there, vendor name is Shelly. So we've now managed to successfully commission the Shelly relay using the chip tool. So the next thing to do is to have a look at the attributes. Sorry, I had to check my notes there. So the next thing we're going to do is try to take a look at the available attributes inside the Shelly relay. So jump back to this. So to do that, we need to look at something called the descriptor. I think it's the descriptor cluster. Let's see what that says. And then we can have a look at the attribute list. And again, it's node 1 root endpoint. So the descriptor is a special cluster within a Matter device that you can use to interrogate the device. And it will tell you things like what device types it conforms to. You can see there's what server attributes it has, what client attributes it has, or client clusters, server clusters. So we're just going to see what attributes it's got. So we'll run this, and this hopefully will give us back a big list of attributes. So not a whole lot there. We've got the server list, client list, parts list. So I'll tell you what, let's have a look at the parts list. Okay, so this will tell us what kind of endpoints that the device has. So we see it's got a single endpoint. And then what we can do is read, oh, I know what we need to do. We need to read the attribute list on endpoint 1. Oh, hang on. So we got one part, let's try that. Okay. No, let's try device type list. So we've got an on-off plug unit. Okay. Not kind of what I expected. An on-off plug unit. So an on-off plug unit means we can, okay, so let's try, I think we do this, read, I think on-off is the, no, oh, there's no hyphen. So on-off will be the cluster. And let's try to read the state of the on-off. Which probably should be off, I imagine. Okay, so we can see it's false. So now let's try and write this. So I think we just say 1 probably. So what I expect is that the relay will click when I send it this 1. Okay, no, it doesn't like that. On, off, right, on, off. No, on time. What can I use for an on, off? Maybe. So I can read it, but I can't write to it. All right, let's try write. Let's see what we can write to. Let's see if there's any commands. Commands. Oh, hang on. So let's try on. Oh yeah, so we can send an on command. Okay. No. Toggle on command. It'll just be that. Oh, yeah. No, you may not have heard that, but there was definitely a click. So if you try off now, okay. So I could definitely hear the click. So at this stage, things aren't looking too good for my scenario. The on-off plug unit is a recipient, it's not a switch. So I'm not sure if they can be used to control a light, because they're actually the thing being controlled. So I'm going to take a look now and see if we can get to the website for the Shelly. So what I've done is I've opened up my Unify control panel, and I filtered that down to my YouTube network here. And I can see there's a single device connected. I don't know why it's showing up as a Tesla, but I've got an IP address, and when I open that IP address, I can see a Shelly 1 control panel. And if I toggle this, the relay does indeed click on and off. So if I were to turn this on and then read the on off again, it probably should come back as true. Yeah, which it does. If I then, unfortunately that's just the relay. Let's try switching this over to the detached mode. And I'll save the settings on that now. Obviously this now controls the relay. But what I really need to figure out is how to get access to the switch. Now it's possible Shelly don't expose that, but what I really want is to be able to read a switch value. Now let me try interrogating this thing again, because maybe it's still just showing up. Let's try and read the parts list. Oh, did I save that setting? Let me go in here. So I did. Just click that. So that's been saved. See if there's anything under advanced. Okay, let's read the parts list again. Because ideally, it's still just got one part. Oh. Oh, the resource is busy. That's fine. Let's try. Oh, no, doesn't like that. Read. I don't think there's going to be an endpoint 2. No. No, it's not happy with that now at all. It says it's busy. Not sure why. Okay. So it still only reports an on-off plug unit. Ah, okay. So, oh, just right. So the matter is there. Use the fabric controller to open a commissioning window. What I really need is the switch. How do I even find that under a normal? Back to home. Oh, there. So that's the input. Okay. So input output settings, okay, enable, yeah, it's enabled. Okay, I'm going to add a physical switch to this, which I have somewhere in this mess of an office. I'm going to add a physical switch into this now. Let's see. So I've wired in a switch, so that's going off to the live, and then I've just put it into the SW terminal here. And if we jump back to Shelly, we can now see that that does change as I switch that on and off. It's also enabled. Unfortunately, there doesn't appear to be a way for me to expose the switch within, like, there's no matter settings. I'll tell you what, let's it's quite an old firmware, so let me just update the firmware. Okay, so the firmware update has completed. So let's see if we get anything more than a plug unit. No. It still only reports a plug unit. Well, I gotta say, that's very disappointing. I had high hopes that Shelly would have exposed more of the features. They're normally quite good at this sort of stuff, especially for the home enthusiast. I think that means my plans of using them for peer-to-peer control are currently dead in the water. The lack of thread was an issue, but it wasn't a deal breaker. But if all I can do is toggle the relay, I couldn't even use them in their current guise because they would switch my bulbs off, which defeats the point. I'm a bit disappointed, I have to say. So I will, yeah, okay, I'm kind of gutted by that didn't work. But I will wrap it up there. I think I will keep poking away at this. This video has been a bit all over the place because I've been doing this just kind of live as I've been going. But I will do some digging online. I'll see if I can find some more information from Shelly, and I'll reach out and see if I can't get them to put the switch state in there. If you've enjoyed this rambling, kind of weird, long-winded video, please do click that like button. If you like this kind of video, please do subscribe to my channel. It's been a bit quiet recently, but I'll be back on it now in 2026. Otherwise, that's it. I'm Tom, and thanks for watching.